Welcome back, 8th graders. Today's explainer is all about turning you into top-tier text detectives. Have you ever felt like a book or a friend or maybe even a news headline is trying to tell you something without actually saying the words out loud? Well, spoiler alert, they usually are. Today, we're totally mastering the art of inference. We're going to learn how to decode the unspoken word, finding that hidden meaning in everything from the books you're reading to the everyday conversations you're having. Let's jump right in with Proverbs 15:14. It says, "The discerning heart seeks knowledge, but the mouth of a fool feeds on folly." I absolutely love starting with this because, true wisdom means actively seeking out the deeper, hidden knowledge instead of just swallowing whatever is right there on the surface. Being a passive reader? Super easy. You just let the words kind of wash over you. But being a discerning reader, that takes some serious effort. It requires looking at a text and asking, okay, what are you really trying to tell me here? So here's our investigative roadmap for today. First, we'll look at decoding the unspoken word, then why making inferences matters, how to spot text clues, seeing those clues in action, and finally, we'll wrap up with morality, education, and peace. All right, Section 1, decoding the unspoken word and finding the hidden meaning.
So here's the deal. Authors absolutely love to hide clues, and your primary job as a reader is to decode these unspoken words. Think about it. If an author just writes, "John was incredibly sad," well, that's pretty boring, right? But what if they say, "John stared at the floor. His shoulders slumped as a single tear escaped his eye"? Notice how they haven't explicitly used the word sad, but you've completely inferred it anyway. Making an inference is basically reading between the lines. It's spotting the subtle hints the writer drops and combining them with your own brain power to uncover the true hidden meaning.
Moving right along to Section 2, why making inferences matters way beyond the classroom.
You see, people constantly suggest ideas indirectly out there in the real world. Think about your everyday conversations. Your friend might say, "I'm fine," but their crossed arms in that super sharp tone, yeah, they're telling you they are definitely not fine. Or on social media, right? A vague post usually has a whole lot of unspoken meaning packed behind it. Even in news articles, writers might frame a story to suggest an opinion without stating it as hard fact. Spotting these hints helps you navigate the world with a sharp, critical mind so you can respond wisely.
Which brings us to Section 3, how to spot text clues. Let's build your detective toolkit.
Take a second to really think about this. Wouldn't it just be a million times easier if authors simply told us everything up front? Why go through all the trouble of hiding clues in the first place? Well, think about your absolute favorite movie or video game. Doesn't the mystery actually make the story richer? For sure. When an author makes you work for the answer, you become totally invested. You become an active participant rather than just a spectator. It makes that aha moment so much more satisfying.
Let's see how this builds across 3 simple steps. Step 1, you've got to find a clue. You're looking for shifts in tone, descriptions that really stand out, or unusual character actions, but you absolutely cannot stop there. Step 2 is incredibly important. Gather several more clues. You can't just rely on a single tiny hint. You need to collect multiple clues from dialogue, pacing, and setting to build a rock-solid case. Then, and only then, do you move to Step 3, which is drawing a strong conclusion. This is where your inference is born, backed up by undeniable evidence.
All right, Section 4, clues in action. Let's look at 3 quick examples. This brilliantly illustrates how a setting, a subtle character behavior, or a deliberately repeated word directly points to a much deeper meaning without the author ever explicitly spelling it out. Let's look at the first one. Say the author describes dark clouds gathering and a howling wind. They don't say, "Hey, something bad is about to happen," but as a reader, your inference radar should be going crazy, signaling danger. In the second example, if a character fidgets and completely avoids eye contact when asked about their homework, you instantly infer guilt or nervousness. I mean, we've all been there, right? And finally, if a writer repeatedly uses the word trapped, they're basically signaling to you that the character feels stuck in their life. The evidence is right there, just waiting for you to connect the dots.
Based on what we just went over, ask yourself this. What happens if a detective jumps to a conclusion based on just one tiny little detail? Imagine a character is shivering. If that's literally your only clue, you might infer they're terrified. But what if the very next sentence mentions snow falling? Boom, your inference changes completely. They're just cold. And that is exactly why you absolutely must gather more than one clue before making an inference. If you don't look at the whole picture, your conclusion might be totally off base.
And finally, Section 5, morality, education, and peace. This is the core of the HeroesMart philosophy.
Seriously, what is the point of being highly educated if you lack the moral compass to avoid bad choices? Education without morality creates people who might make brilliant inferences in a text, sure, but they completely lack the discernment to navigate real life. They continue to make decisions that lead to pain. But education with morality? Now that's a game changer. That intertwines your learning with biblical discernment. It ensures that as your brain gets sharper, your character gets stronger, allowing you to make wise life choices that actually protect and uplift you.
This brings us to a beautiful promise found in Romans 8:6-7, which promises peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. And this is really the core of our experience here. When you apply your newly trained discerning heart to both your education and your spirituality, the promise isn't just that you'll get good grades. The promise is true peace of mind. By seeking knowledge deeply and pairing it with a strong moral foundation, you avoid all the chaos of foolish choices and actually step into a life of genuine peace and clarity. As we wrap up today's explainer, I want you to step out into the world like a true detective, ready to seek knowledge and read between the lines. So how will you use your newly trained, discerning heart to decode the hidden messages in the world around you today? Whether you're reading a novel, mindlessly scrolling through your social media feed, or having a deep conversation with a friend, remember to look past the surface. Gather your clues, make those inferences, and always apply that godly wisdom to the conclusions you draw. Keep analyzing, keep learning, and I will see you in the next explainer.